We all know that when it comes to pirate treasure, X marks the spot. You have a treasure map and there's a dotted line that leads towards where the treasure lies, and where the treasure lies, that part is marked with an X. However, in real life, we tend to not really understand how treasure maps work. When we set ourselves goals, a lot of the time, we set goals that are meant to avoid something. So we're not searching for X. No, we're avoiding X. And that is when things get incredibly complicated in such a way that it actually has a lot of impact on your mental health. My name is Crystal Vogels. This is the Ship Psychology channel, and we're here with another piece of PsychoTrivia. So when X marks the spot, X can be anything. In the stories, it is treasure, but in our daily lives, it can be literally anything. What kind of goals do you set yourself? Very often, you'll say things like, oh, I want to quit smoking, or I want to quit that bad habit, or I want to avoid getting hurt, especially when you've been through emotionally complex situations. And people have hurt you in the past, then it can be your goal in life, or at least for the foreseeable future, to avoid getting hurt. Well, what happens here is that you're sending mixed messages to yourself. So when you look at the ship inside your head, the master of linguistics and the one who also makes the courses, plots the courses to get you towards your goal, that's the captain. And the captain really understands what you mean when you say you want to quit smoking, you want to avoid cigarettes, or you want to avoid situations where you get emotionally hurt. They understand that. But in order to plot a course to that X, they're not plotting a course towards X. You notice, they are plotting a course to avoid X, and that means that they have to mark out on a map all the places where X might be. So you're mapping out all the places where you could possibly buy cigarettes, or could possibly be offered a cigarette. You have to map out all the places where you could possibly get in a situation where you get emotionally hurt when someone says something hurtful. That is a lot of X's on that map. And your captain has to plot a course to avoid them all. First of all, that is going to take your poor captain a lot of work. Another, much more concerning problem is that you can't avoid all the X's. There are so many X's that you can't avoid all of them. So setting yourself a goal to avoid something is a lot of hard work. Plus you're setting yourself up to fail. Simply because there is no way you can avoid each and every one of those situations, each and every one of those locations. So who set that goal to begin with? Well, if you've watched all the videos so far, you may remember that it's not your captain who decides your destination. Sure, they decide the course on how to get to your destination, but the one who makes that X, who plants that X and says, Captain, that's where I want to go, that is your first mate. Your first mate is your passion, your creativity, your emotions. That is a joyous, energetic part of you. But if they set a course to avoid something, they keep a focus on that. So one of the things that your first mate is now doing is they're placing themselves in the captain's position. They're trying to steer the ship. That's not their job. And the energy they put into that causes you to feel less drive, because that is your first mate's first job, to drive the ship forward. And if they're busy steering and if they're busy avoiding things, they are not busy driving the ship. So what happens is that you feel that your energy gets lower and lower and lower, because your first mate is fully focused on what they want to avoid. Now, it is in a first mate's nature to be focused on their destination. They planted that X and that's where they want to go. But if they plant an X that actually is avoid X, they have all these X's to worry about, and they have to remind the captain to not go towards that, but to steer between them. And there's a lot of places that your first mate can't go anymore because, well, they're avoiding something, so they can't go anywhere where that what they want to avoid, where that it might be. And then your world becomes very limited. You have lots of X's, but nowhere to go. And that drains your energy. Because without a goal to go towards, your first mate loses their drive. And then after a while, your captain doesn't have to worry about steering the ship anymore, because a ship that is adrift, a ship that is becalmed, isn't moving, isn't going anywhere, doesn't need steering. That's not a good place to be, because what you will feel is a complete lack of drive, a complete lack of energy, and actually something that comes awfully close to depression. So what can you do to avoid getting into that kind of situation? Well, the easiest way is to give your first mate something to strive towards, something that they want to go to. So rather than phrasing the goals that you want to achieve in, I want to avoid X, what do you want instead? If you want to avoid cigarettes, what do you want instead? If you want to avoid cigarettes because you want to have a healthy set of lungs, because you want to exercise more, you want to have the stamina to do that, then focus on the stamina. Focus on X being, I want the stamina to do this sport. The fact that cigarettes is something you need to avoid to do that will automatically be calculated into that course. Your captain will automatically calculate, okay, so you want to go there, and in order to do that, you want to let go of the cigarettes? Fine, then I'll calculate a course that doesn't require cigarettes, and I'll calculate a course towards what you want, towards that healthy, good feeling and the stamina to do the things that you want to do, the physical stamina. That can be your X. Another X that marks a spot could be, I want healthy friendships. I want to be around people who treat me with respect. I want to feel loved. And that is something that turns your first mate on instead of off. Then your first mate says, oh, that is what I do want. And when you get in a situation where someone hurts your feelings, it's not, oh God, it happened again, and withdrawing into yourself. No, then your first mate says, that's not a person I need to be with. That's not the person I want in my life. Okay, onwards. Or if that is a person that you do love, it's much easier for yourself to call them out on their hurtful phrasing and find out if maybe it was simple a mistake at their end. So rather than avoiding getting hurt, you strive towards being around people who give you the feeling that you really want. And that is an X that you can actually move towards. That is an X that your captain can plot a single course towards. And that is something that you can actually achieve and actually find. And sometimes it takes a long time. I'm not saying that it'll happen overnight. But avoiding X, that will send you on a wild goose chase for indefinitely. Planting a X that you do want, that gets you going. That gives you the drive, and that also gives you the energy and the stamina, the mental stamina in this case, to actually find that and achieve that. So take a good look at the kind of goals you set yourself. Do you phrase them as an avoid X, or do you phrase them as find X? And what kind of difference in success have you noticed from the different avoid X or find X destinations that you set for yourself in your life so far. Have a look, and if you want to share something, share it in the comments, or if you're watching this in the newsletter, send a reply with your experiences, what you've noticed about this. That's it for now, and I hope to see you again next week.